Hi everyone. My name is Emily Watson. I'm 32 years old, and until a year ago, I considered myself the happiest woman in the world. Looking back, I realized that happiness was real, but it was fragile, like thin glass. And it was shattered by the person I trusted most in the world, my husband, Michael. Our story began like a beautiful fairy tale. We met when I was 22 and Michael was 25. He worked as a manager at a small company, and I was finishing college with a degree in marketing. There was an instant spark between us. Michael was charming, fun, and knew how to court a girl beautifully without being overly pretentious. He liked my parents, especially my father. Dad always said, "Emily, that boy has backbone. He'll be able to provide for a family." My father, James, was a military man. He served in the army for almost 30 years, went through several hotspots, and retired with the rank of colonel. He was always a hero to me, strict, fair, but infinitely loving. He rarely talked about his awards or service, but his bearing, his silent strength, was always felt in our home. Mom died when I was still a teenager, and after she was gone, my father and I became even closer. We understood each other without words. 2 years after we met, Michael proposed. The wedding was modest but very heartfelt. My father could barely hold back his tears as he walked me down the aisle. We settled into a small house in the suburbs of Boston, bought on a mortgage. We weren't rich, but we lived in harmony. Michael worked hard, and I also got a job at an advertising agency. We were saving for a child, for renovations, for a better life. We were a team. Everything changed 3 years ago. My father's heart started failing. The doctors just threw up their hands, old wounds, age, constant stress. He faded quickly, but until his last day, he kept a clear mind and a strong spirit. I remember him sitting in his old leather armchair, sorting through some army photos, and telling me, "Daughter, I didn't live in vain. I defended my country, and now I want you to be happy. Don't waste your life on trivial things, build something real." When he was gone, the world dimmed for me. I didn't just lose a father, I lost my pillar, my most faithful advisor. At the funeral, many of his fellow servicemen came, all saying what a wonderful man he was. Michael was impeccable. He supported me, handled the funeral arrangements, and never left my side. I was grateful to him to the point of tears. And a week after the funeral, it turned out that my father had left me an inheritance. I knew he had some savings, but what I saw in the lawyer's documents shocked me. It turned out my father was a very far-sighted man. Besides a decent insurance policy, he had $350,000 in his account. "This is for your life, daughter," I could almost hear his voice. "So you'll never be in need." That evening, Michael and I sat in the kitchen for a long time, drinking tea and discussing the future. I cried because that money smelled of my dad's sweat and his care for me. Michael stroked my hand and suddenly said, "Emily, listen, are we going to work for someone else our whole lives? Let's take a risk. Let's start our own business." The idea seemed crazy, but the more we discussed it, the more I liked it. We went through tons of options, a coffee shop, a small restaurant, a clothing store. But we settled on building materials. New cottages were starting to spring up everywhere in our area, and there wasn't a decent store nearby where you could buy everything needed for renovations. We decided it was our chance. We named our store, Handyman's Dream. We invested almost $200,000 in renting the space, buying the initial stock, renovating, and the sign. It was terrifying. I remember our last night before the grand opening. We sat on the floor among boxes of nails, paint, and tools, drinking cheap beer from the bottle, terrified that no one would come the next day. But people did come, hesitantly at first, one by one. Then the flow increased. Michael and I worked ourselves to the bone. I handled accounting, purchasing, and advertising. Michael took care of sales, supplier relations, and logistics. We were everywhere at once. For the first 6 months, we didn't take a salary, reinvesting every penny back into the business. We were so tired we'd collapse, but we'd fall asleep smiling. We were building our shared dream. A year later, the store wasn't just on its feet. It was generating a stable, albeit small, profit. And that same year, I found out I was pregnant. I'll never forget the moment I showed Michael the test with 2 pink lines. He looked at it, looked at me, and his face broke into such a sincere, happy smile that my eyes stung. He swept me up in his arms and spun me around the room, yelling, "I'm going to be a dad. We're going to be parents." The pregnancy was easy. I worked right up until the end, until my belly got in the way of squeezing between the shelves. Michael was touchingly attentive. He wouldn't let me lift anything heavy, brought me treats from work, talked to my belly. We were incredibly happy. When our son was born, little Liam, the world shrank to the size of his crib. 7 pounds and 3 ounces of pure happiness. Michael took my hand in the delivery room and said, "Thank you, Emily, for everything. I'll do anything to give him the best childhood." I believed him. Oh, how I believed him. Liam grew into an active and curious child. We named him after my father, James Liam Watson. It felt right to me, like Dad was watching over his grandson from somewhere above. The first 4 years flew by in an instant. The store, Handyman's Dream, became a real hub for all the builders and gardeners in the area. We had to expand, hiring 2 salespeople and a driver. Business was booming. We finally paid off our debts, did major renovations on the house, and bought a new car. But with business growth came more problems. The workday stopped ending at 6 in the evening. Deliveries, new clients, paperwork issues, all demanded our presence. We started staying late. I caught myself thinking that I saw my son less and less. Liam needed to be picked up from daycare promptly at 5. If we were late, the teacher would call and scold us. We missed one parent-teacher meeting after another. I remember Michael coming home angry after another phone call and saying, "Emily, we can't go on like this. We're stretched too thin. Liam needs someone who's here when we're not. Let's hire a nanny." It was a sensible idea, but finding a good person proved incredibly difficult. We placed an ad. Women of all ages came. One was too old and could barely move, another seemed suspiciously nervous. A third immediately declared she wouldn't wash dishes or walk the dog in bad weather. We were in despair. A month passed, then 2. Then my friend Sarah called. "Emily," she said, "the daughter of my neighbor is looking for a summer job. She's a good girl, quiet, from a decent family. She's in college, wants to earn money for her studies. Her name is Chloe. Maybe give her a try?" Chloe was 16, tall, thin, with a mop of curly red hair and a sprinkle of freckles on her nose. She was shy, spoke quietly, and was very eager to please. Michael and I exchanged glances. She bonded with Liam immediately. The little guy reached out his arms to her and laughed when she showed him a stuffed bunny. We decided to take a chance. And it was the best decision. Chloe was a godsend. She would arrive promptly at 4, pick Liam up from daycare, walk with him in the park, feed him the dinner I'd left in the fridge, play with him, and put him to bed. Liam adored her. The house was peaceful again. Michael and I could work late, knowing our son was safe and sound. With Chloe, everything was settled. Meanwhile, our business was growing like crazy. Then Michael came to me with an idea. "Emily," he said one evening, spreading a map on the table. "Look, 200 kilometers from us, in Springfield, they're starting a new housing development. It's going to be huge. If we open a branch there, we'll be rolling in money. The market there is practically empty." It was a risky idea, but it made sense. We went to check it out, scouted locations, found a space. A decision had to be made. "Who's going to run the new store?" I asked. "I can't leave the main one." Michael took my hands. "Emily, you're the smart one. You have a great instinct for purchasing and people. You know better than me how to get a business off the ground. How about this? I'll stay here, keep an eye on things, and you go to Springfield. Just for a couple of months, until you get everything running smoothly." I hesitated. The thought of leaving Liam for several days, maybe even a week, filled me with dread. But Chloe was there, Michael was there. I knew this was our chance to move to the next level. "Okay," I agreed. "Let's try it." Opening the second store was a trial by fire. I disappeared into Springfield for weeks at a time. I rented a tiny apartment, slept 4 hours a night, and solved 1,000 problems, from finding staff to dealing with landlord disputes. I came home once every 2 weeks, for weekends. Seeing Liam again was like a breath of fresh air. He was growing up, talking more, and at every reunion he'd ask, "Mommy, are you staying long?" Michael would greet me with hugs. He said he missed me, loved me, was taking care of everything. He never complained. I was endlessly grateful to him. I didn't notice anything strange. Not that he seemed a little more distant, or that he sometimes looked away when I asked about Chloe. "Everything's fine," he'd answer. "She's great." 7 months passed like this. Finally, things in Springfield stabilized. We found a capable manager, and I could finally breathe easy. I came home with the feeling that life would now get back to normal. I would have breakfast with my son again, see him every evening. We decided to throw Liam a big party for his 5th birthday. He'd been dreaming of a superhero-themed party for ages. We hired an entertainer, ordered a huge Spider-Man cake, blew up balloons. I sent invitations to all his friends from daycare, our neighbors, and of course, Chloe. She had become practically a member of the family, and I wanted her to share the joy with us. Chloe said she'd definitely come. The night before the party, I went into Liam's room. He was already asleep, hugging his teddy bear. Michael was in the living room watching TV, but I noticed he seemed edgy. He kept turning the volume up and down, glancing at his phone. "Michael, is everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah," he answered too quickly. "Just tired from work. Everything's fine, Emily." On the day of the party, the house filled with children's laughter. Liam ran around the room in his Batman costume, his friends squealing as they popped bubbles. Michael and I handed out treats and took pictures. The other parents sat on the porch, sipping lemonade and chatting. Everything was perfect, but Chloe wasn't there. It hit 5, then 6. I called her. Her voice was quiet, subdued. "Mrs. Watson," she said. "I'm so sorry. I can't come. I'm sick. I have a fever. I don't want to infect anyone." "Oh, you poor thing," I sympathized. Of course, get better. We'll save you a piece of cake." "No, don't," she answered quickly. "No need, thank you. I'll call you later." Strange, I thought then. She was always so cheerful. But you never know, the flu is going around. That evening, after the guests had left and Liam, tired and happy, had fallen asleep surrounded by his presence, Michael and I sat in the kitchen. He was silent, staring into space. I asked if he wanted tea. He jumped, as if waking up. "Huh? Yeah, pour me some." I was filling the kettle when his phone rang. Michael glanced at the screen, and his face changed. He jumped up, grabbed the phone, and rushed out of the kitchen into the bedroom, slamming the door behind him. A bad feeling prickled at me. I quietly walked to the bedroom door. Michael's voice was muffled, but I clearly heard a few phrases that made my heart skip a beat. "I told you in plain English," he hissed. "Don't call me in the evening. Don't you understand? It'll be handled, just shut your mouth. She can't find out, understand?" Nothing. Then he abruptly hung up. I barely had time to step back from the door and pretend to be pouring tea when he came out. He was pale, angry. "Who was that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just a supplier from Springfield," he dismissed. "Some stupid problem. I'll deal with it tomorrow." I nodded, but inside me, an icy void was spreading. She can't find out. Who is she? Me? And what am I not supposed to find out? And why did he have such an aggressive, unfamiliar tone? The next day began with a call that confirmed my worst fears. It was Chloe. "Mrs. Watson," her voice was dead, lifeless. I can't work anymore. I'm so sorry. I can't come back." "Chloe, what happened?" I exclaimed. "Did someone hurt you? If it's about money, we can raise your rate." No, it's not about the money." She sniffled. I can't. I'm so sorry. Goodbye." And she hung up. I sat there, staring at the phone. The puzzle pieces started coming together. Michael's strange behavior over the last few months, his nervousness, his late-night trips to see friends, the call yesterday, his angry whisper. And now Chloe, who was always so sweet and responsible, quitting in tears without explanation. One thought hammered in my head: it's connected. I didn't say anything to Michael. Some primal, maternal instinct kicked in. I had to find out the truth. I remembered Chloe's application form had her address. She lived with her grandmother in a neighboring district, about half an hour away. A couple of days later, I told Michael the first had to urgently go to Springfield to sort out some paperwork. He even seemed glad, said he'd stay with Liam, hire a temporary nanny. I nodded, got in my car, and drove to Chloe's address. It was an old, run-down duplex on a quiet street. I walked up to the door. An elderly woman with tired eyes opened it, Chloe's grandmother. "Hello," I said. "I'm Emily Watson, Chloe's employer. I really need to speak with her." The grandmother frowned. "Chloe's not home. She went for a walk." "What's this about? Did she do something wrong?" No, not at all. She's a wonderful girl. I just need to discuss something personal with her. I'll wait for her in my car, if that's all right." I sat in my car and waited. About 20 minutes later, I saw her. Chloe was walking slowly along the sidewalk, head down. She was wearing a loose, shapeless tunic. And then I saw it. Saw it and went cold. Beneath the tunic, a rounded belly was clearly visible. She was pregnant. My 16-year-old nanny was visibly pregnant. I got out of the car and called out to her. "Chloe." She looked up. Her face twisted into such terror, as if she'd seen a ghost. She went pale as a sheet, then burst into tears. She covered her face with her hands and started babbling. "No, no, no. Please, go away. Mrs. Watson, go away. Don't." I ran to her and hugged her, feeling her whole body tremble. "Shish, shish, it's okay, sweetheart," I whispered. "Don't be afraid. I'm here. I'm not your enemy. Come on, let's sit in the car, and you can tell me everything." It took her a long time to calm down. In the car, I gave her water, turned on the heater to keep her warm. She sat curled up in a ball, staring at nothing. "Chloe," I said softly, taking her hand. "Was it Michael? Did he touch you?" She broke down again, sobbing harder, and nodded frantically, choking on her tears. "I didn't want to. Mrs. Watson, I swear, I didn't want to. He said he'd fire me if I didn't, and I couldn't lose this job. I need the money for school, my grandmother is sick." I got scared, I hesitated, and he was drunk, and she told me everything, and inside me, everything was collapsing. It happened during one of my long trips to Springfield. Michael had been at a friend's birthday party, came home late, drunk and aroused. Liam was already asleep. Chloe was sitting in the living room, waiting for him to get back so she could leave. He came in, and it happened. He attacked her right there on the couch, clamping his hand over her mouth so Liam wouldn't wake up. Then he threatened her. If she told anyone, he wouldn't just fire her without pay, he'd spread rumors that she'd seduced him. Who would believe a 16-year-old girl over a successful businessman? "He said he'd kill me if I told," Chloe whispered. "I was so scared to call you. Then I found out I was pregnant. I wanted to get an abortion, but I was too scared to go alone. And now it's too late. I'm too far along." I listened, and I felt an icy rage boiling inside me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was a crime. My husband, the father of my child, the man I loved, was a rapist and a coward. "Chloe," I said firmly, looking into her eyes. "You are not to blame for this. Do you hear me? Not one bit. He is the monster. And he will pay for this. You won't be afraid of him anymore. I'm here." I hugged her and told her I had a plan. I asked her to do one more thing. Tomorrow evening, around the same time she'd called him the other day, she needed to call him again. And talk to him in a way that would make him threaten her again, and mention the pregnancy. I would handle the rest. The next day, I acted normally. I made dinner, played with Liam. Michael was calm. He thought the nanny problem was solved and I knew nothing. In the evening, we sat down to eat. At around 8:30, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and I saw his back stiffen. He jumped up. "It's work," he muttered, and dashed into his bedroom, the one we used to call the office. I slowly stood up, went to the hall closet, and pulled out the small digital voice recorder I'd bought that morning. I slipped it into my pocket and, tiptoeing, approached the office door. It was slightly ajar. I carefully reached in and placed the recorder on a shelf right behind the door, pressing the record button. Michael's voice was muffled, but I stood right there and heard enough. "Are you crazy? I told you not to call." He hissed. "Yes, I remember you're pregnant. So what do you want? Money? I paid you. If you think I'm going to marry you, you're an idiot. You'll come to me tomorrow, and we'll settle this. And if you dare breathe a word to Emily, you'll regret the day you were born." The conversation didn't last long. I heard him move toward the door and barely managed to slip back into the kitchen. My heart was pounding. A minute later, I went into the office under some pretext and, when Michael turned away, I quietly retrieved the recorder. Later that night, after he'd fallen asleep, I put on headphones and listened to the recording. His voice was clear, the threats were obvious, the mention of the pregnancy was unambiguous. It was more than enough. I sat in the bathroom, clutching the recorder, and cried. I cried for Chloe, for my shattered marriage, for Liam, who would no longer have a real father. But through the tears, my resolve hardened. I would make sure this bastard got what he deserved. The next morning, I left for Springfield, again. But instead, I picked up Chloe. We went to the police station together. In the car, she was quiet and scared, but I held her hand. At the station, we met a female detective named Detective Moreno. After hearing Chloe's story, she stumbled, cried, but told every detail, and listening to the recording, Detective Moreno looked at me with respect and sympathy. "Mrs. Watson," she said, "what you've done is very brave and very right. This recording and Chloe's testimony are enough to get an arrest warrant. But we need your cooperation. We're going to go to your house right now. We'll apprehend him there." I asked permission to go in first. I wanted to see his face. I wanted him to know that I was the one who destroyed him. We pulled up to the house. Police cars were parked around the corner. I got out, took a deep breath, and opened the door with my key. Michael was in the living room, reading some papers. He looked up, and his face broke into the usual fake smile. "Emily, you're back? Why didn't you call? I would have picked you up." He didn't finish. Behind me in the doorway, Chloe appeared. Michael froze. His face twitched, the smile vanished, replaced by a mask of horror and rage. "What the hell?" he rasped. "What's she doing here? Emily, this is a mistake. She'll tell you lies. She's crazy." "Shut up, Michael," I said calmly. My voice sounded alien, dead. "I know everything. I heard your phone call. I went to see Chloe. I know about the baby." He lunged toward me, then stopped. His face contorted, and he laughed, a nervous, ugly laugh. "Oh, you bitch, you were spying on me? So what are you going to do now? Go to the police? My word against this little slut's. And the business? The business is half mine. I'll sell my share and move to Mexico or Canada, wherever I want. And you'll be left with nothing. I was only with you for your daddy's money from the start. Thought you were so smart? Thought I loved you?" He was yelling, spitting, and in that moment, I saw his true face. The face of a monster who'd been living under my roof all this time. But I felt no pain. Only revulsion. I looked at him calmly and smiled. The coldest smile of my life. "You're right, Michael. You're not going anywhere." I stepped to the front door, threw it wide open, and nodded. "Come in." Detective Moreno and two uniformed officers entered the house. Michael backed up, stumbled over the coffee table, and collapsed into an armchair. "Michael Watson," Detective Moreno said loudly. "You are under arrest on suspicion of the rape of a minor, as well as threats and coercion." As he was read his rights and handcuffed, he stared at me. There was hatred, fear, and disbelief in his eyes. He was yelling something about a lawyer, about this being a setup. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was looking at Chloe, who was pressed against the wall, crying silently. I went to her and hugged her. "It's over," I whispered. "You're free." The officers led Michael away. Detective Moreno said she'd be in touch. The house was empty. I sank onto the couch and finally broke down sobbing. Chloe came and sat beside me, hugging me, and we cried together. 6 months have passed. The trial was swift and relentless. Michael's lawyer tried to play the "she seduced him" card, but the recording and Chloe's testimony, which she gave with a psychologist's support, were ironclad. The jury delivered a verdict in less than 2 hours. Michael was found guilty of raping a minor and sentenced to 12 years in a maximum security prison. Furthermore, the court terminated all his parental rights to Liam and, considering the business was started with my father's inheritance, which is my personal property, and proving his unfitness and moral turpitude, awarded me sole ownership of Handyman's Dream. He left prison a pauper and a pariah. Chloe lives with us now. Her grandmother was often ill, so I offered the girl our guest room. She has become more than a friend, she's like a little sister to me. We are preparing together for the baby's arrival. Liam adores her and can't wait for his new brother or sister to arrive. He doesn't know the truth about his father yet. We told him that Daddy had to go away for a long, long time. When he's older, I'll tell him everything. But not now. I don't go to Springfield anymore. We have an excellent manager, and I oversee everything from here, via the internet and weekly video calls. I've learned to trust others, but I double-check everything twice as carefully. The business is thriving. We're even thinking about opening a third store, but this time, I'm in no hurry. Family comes first. Every evening, I go into Liam's room, straighten his blanket, and watch his sleeping face. Then I go to the living room, where Chloe is drinking tea with cookies and watching some silly show. We talk, we laugh. Sometimes she gets sad, and then we just sit in silence, and I hold her hand. My father's inheritance almost destroyed my life. But it also gave me the strength to start over. Dad always taught me to be strong. He said the most important things in life are honor and justice. I think he would be proud of me. I protected my family and helped an innocent girl. And perhaps that is the true price of an inheritance, not the money, but the ability to stand up for it and not lose yourself.